Hello everybody, and welcome to another Fallout 76 video. This isn't an event video, this is a couch talk, and I'm going to be talking about the melee weapon, Plasma Cutter. I've been doing a lot of studying and research on the best melee weapon to use with power armor. And commonly people will use two-handers because they can't use unarmed. So let's go back to the basics for a quick sec. The highest damage melee weapons are unarmed weapons. You know, contenders is always things like bear arm, Deathclaw Gauntlet, and Gauntlet, Power Fist. Those are sort of the most common unarmed weapons that people will roll with. Now in power armor you can't use any of those weapons, so people will often use two-hand weapons because of the higher damage on paper. Unfortunately, the DPS overall isn't as high. So, what does that really matter? What is DPS? DPS is damage per second. And why is this important? Now, if you're killing ghouls, it doesn't really matter because one hit will kill ghouls. It's not really a big deal. But when you start actually killing harder things like Earl, Scorched Beast Queen, even in daily ops, when you have to kill the end boss or code carriers, you're not going to kill them in one hit, and you're going to have to do repeated damage. Now, you can beat anything in the game here with unlegendary equipment, except those sort of end bosses. They require more damage and a more focused build to kill them in faster times. So that's really where the damage per second comes in play. So, again, I don't really focus on the highest single hit a weapon can give, and again, we're going to call that the Alpha Strike. The first hit, we're really going to be focusing on, you know, overall how fast can we deliver damage over a period of time. So the Plasma Cutter does less damage on paper than a two-hand weapon. Super Sledge, even a Warglaive, which came out in the same patch. A Warglaive is basically a two-handed version of this, does more damage than on paper. But this one-handed weapon attacks almost 40% faster than its two-hand counterpart. Now, I have a bloodied swing speed version, and really this is a bit of a flex post because I got a bloodied swing speed version of it to drop. Ooh, that's nice. Gotta watch my health with these ones, too. So, overall, again, this does about 20% less damage than the Warglaive. Or the Super Sledge, but overall it does higher DPS because it attacks faster. And there's a damage simulator that I'm going to post, like a damage estimator, that will also confirm this. And if you want to test the accuracy of that damage calculator, you can basically grab the weapons and you can spec out how you can load it out there and test the weapon on targets. I suggest sandbags. It's sort of my favorite thing to test it on, and do the comparison. So overall, again, the best damage per second weapon for power armor is a Plasma Cutter. Now, Plasma Cutters have mods, with the default Plasma Cutter not as much. All the mods do roughly the same damage. Flaming is slightly higher, but not enough for it to be worth it. I'm using a cryo because when I'm fighting bosses, cryo will slow them. So this here will put on a slowing effect that slows their movement speed, it slows their attack speed. So it adds a defensive quality to it. So if we slow down the boss's damage per second by 30% with this, and their movement speed, if I have to get out of the way faster, 1-2, it's easier to move away from the boss with this. Or to move out of mechanics, like if you're doing the sheep squash. I like to get around the back of a sheep squash and do damage from its hindquarters because it'll take more damage. The body parts that are at the front have a damage reduction on it. So again, when the sheep squash attacks, I like to get around back and then hit it from behind. So again, if the sheep squash is slowed, it's easier for me to move around. So that's why I've picked cryo for this. And again, with these two combined, this, as a bloodied weapon, will do as much damage as a bloodied gauntlet. Now, where the fist weapons still make up is you can't get unyielding power armor yet. So unyielding gives you a huge amount of strength. It gives you 15 strength for having 3 pieces on and having your health below 20%. And that 15 strength is a big boon. 15 strength for this weapon will be 5%, an extra 5% damage per strength. So that works out to be about 75% increased damage. Now, it's not multiplicative, it's additive. But again, that's a very big strength boost. For endgame enemies like Scorch Beast Queen, that works out to be about a 40% damage increase for having unyielding. And again, you can't have unyielding power armor. But in the next season, we're going to have power armor crafting. So we can have unyielding power armor. So once we have unyielding power armor, we're going to be throwing, again, that another 75% damage on this plasma cutter. And again, as I've talked about, the plasma cutter does the same damage as fist weapons, as endgame fist weapons. So that'll mean in power armor, you will be able to put out melee damage with the best low health builds, and power armor has a lot more advantages over having sort of a non-power armor low health build. So again, this is sort of where I just really wanted to do a video to sort of aggregate my research on this weapon. Now, the big downside to the plasma cutter is you cannot trade it. So, and the reason why this is next patch's legendary crafting is going to be important is because you can only get this as a reward, basically as a legendary drop from enemies once you've unlocked the plan, and you can only get a plan from doing daily ops, or you can get it as a reward from daily ops. So again, it's very, very hard to get these, and again, getting a bloodied swing speed is next to impossible. Once legendary crafting becomes open, it's going to be possible to craft these weapons. And again, the reason why I'm making this post is because, you know, I had planned on actually using legendary crafting to craft this exact weapon, which happened to drop today. So I'm excited that I get to post this content ahead of time, because I was going to do this when legendary crafting came out and then roll this weapon and then talk about, you know, why this weapon is the best. But again, hey, you know, luck of the draw, this happened to drop for me today. So it's using it is putting all of this study into practice, because a lot of times you can do planning for build stuff, but by the time you get the build or the stuff and you put it together, you start to see holes that you didn't plan for. You know, things will sort of be noticeable that there's flaws and stuff, and it's not going to work out really the way you planned. But right now I'm super, super happy with this weapon. I was using a non-bloodied, just a regular normal version of this to get used to using it, to seeing where the damage was, and I was happy with it. Again, with excavator power armor and a non-bloodied, non-swing speed, non-legendary plasma cutter, I was doing all of my daily ops in under 8 minutes, solo or in group, save Burrow's decryption, which is next to impossible for anybody to do under 8 minutes by themselves. I actually challenged that. I did it in Secret Service armor with Vampire Swing Speed Gauntlet. That's the only time I've been able to do decryption Burrow's melee, low health melee solo. I don't think you could do it any other way. But every other daily op that I've wanted to do in this armor has been possible. And one of the things that, like, it was great to do it. It had the defenses, it worked out. But the only thing was, on those end bosses, it was like, you know, poking them with a fork. It just wasn't doing a ton of damage. So, between the bloodied swing speed on the weapon here, swing speed is going to give me about overall 25% increased damage. Bloodied is going to give me about 30% increased damage overall. And when we get bloodied power, when we get unyielding power armor next patch, again, we're going to see overall another 40% damage increase. So, you know, this is really going to start to get better. And I'm sort of really excited for it, and I'm planning it. That's why I dusted off the power armor again. I want to get used to. Oh hey, I want to get used to moving around it and basically the feel of it, the logistics of making sure I have enough fusion cores, and playing around with perks and stuff. I've already changed my build about a dozen times, playing around with different perks, trading off. I had a lot of survival perks as melee before, and again, I would prioritize survival over damage, because even still with Secret Service and a lot of survival perks, you were still pretty squishy. AP regen it was still very important. It's even more important in power armor. And now I find myself trading more survival perks for more damage perks. So, well, I'm doing an event, aren't I? Sorry, I'm killing super mutants and not focusing on that. So yeah, overall, again, this is Bloodied Plasma Cutter. Bloody Swing Speed Plasma Cutter is hands down the best melee weapon you can get in the game. And again, especially if you want to do melee power armor builds with legendary power armor, next season this is going to be the weapon you want to get. And again, next season it's really going to open up opportunities for you with legendary crafting, because you can take a plasma cutter that you craft. Ooh, you can take a. I'm getting lucky with the legendaries. This is nice. I was just complaining that I couldn't get enough. I had 20 legendaries, but they're all 1-star. I couldn't get enough legendaries to meet my script cap. But problem solved.
Restored. Connection process.
Yeah, again, with that legendary crafting, you'll be able to roll this more consistently and have a much higher chance of picking one up. So even if it wasn't bloodied, anti-armor, and there's going to be a... if you get one of the... what's it called? Things like troubleshooters and stuff, like if... they have one that's good against super mutants. That's going from a 30% increased damage to super mutants to 50%. Same thing with troubleshooters and zealots. You know, even if you don't get bloodied, if you have ones for specific occasions, you know, it's still worth using. Yeah, overall to me, swing speed is something that makes the weapon really comfortable. I've been using a swing speed one-hand weapon, you know, for the past 2 years, and when I was using a non-swing speed plasma cutter, it was so slow. And one of the things you don't think about is when you're getting in melee combat, when you want to make a melee attack against somebody, if you miss, you know, it's all nice to put on the videos, not missing any hits, but when you miss, with slower weapons, you commit a bigger loss of damage because you missed. So the faster the weapon hits, the faster you can put in an additional hit on and take down the enemy. Again, this weapon is basically 1 or 2-shotting almost any enemy I come across as far as, you know, non-boss enemies. So if you miss one, you're basically reducing your... If it takes 1 hit to kill somebody and you miss them, it's reducing your damage by 50% because you're having to spend that entire hit interval attacking again. So again, it could be being able to hit an enemy faster with another punishing attack. Great. Anyways, I'm done rambling. Again, this will be filed under a couch talk, I think, where we just sort of free-form talk about a topic. If you have any comments or suggestions, please post it below. I'd love to hear your opinions on your favorite melee weapons, especially with power armor. Again, a lot of you are going to have those two-handers. But if you like this video and you like other videos on my channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you in the next video.